connect. I think most people know me. I'm Max from Web3 Institute. Currently in Almaty, as we said. I think overall, like about this session we have today about the customer centricity, I was like back in the days, maybe like 10 years ago or something, I was like in the startup school, and they talk about customer development, which made a really big impression on me, and overall the journey to startups. So that's why I'm super supportive of Ian's session today and looking to bring all those like insights and knowledge to Ukrainian projects. So that's a bit about me, and I'll pass to Dmitro.
Hello. I'm from Odessa, Ukraine. I have academic background, studied economics, have a PhD degree in economics. Last my research concerned central bank's digital currencies. So in this way, I came to Web3 through my other colleague who work also in Web3 Institute, Dmitro Bonder. In Zaras, he is now not on the full-time position, but is counseling in some ways. So we work a lot with him many time, and now I'm joined to Web3 Institute, and we're working on bringing together the Web3 companies and people who want to find a job, find an internship, find the possibility of promoting their projects in Web3. So we try to help them in this way. I pass on to Jan.
Oh, very quickly, me, my background, it's been the last 26 years in Silicon Valley. Did four startups, 3 were acquired by M&A, and 1 I took public. And the last 8 years I've been in blockchain. So I was head of business at Arweave, head of business at Binance, and now run my own venture fund.
Maybe to Jenny.
Yeah, hello. I'm Evgenia. I'm from Kiev. I study at KPI, it's a university. I study cryptography.
Nice to meet you.
And MC. Can I call you MC, just for short?
I think it's better MCSD. MC in different way. So to me, anything from the brain, I learn, studying.
Sorry, MC, I can't hear you. Do you mind? Sorry, it's hard to hear you.
Oh.
There's something wrong with the sound. It's.
Do you hear me? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, but a bit tough.
Give me a second. I'll try to connect. Do you hear me? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It's better.
Yeah, it's improved. Yeah.
So, I don't study about blockchain, about Web3, about technology, about the software, infrastructure, and all in crypto. 24/7, every day.
I think I got about 10% of that. I think you said you're like an engineer from Kyiv. Is that right? Or have I got completely wrong?
I work in different ways. Like a moderator, like a community manager. I'm good skills in spectator. So different ways, as I said earlier.
I heard
MCSD,
community
maybe you
manager.
can. Yeah, feel free to maybe introduce over the text because it's a bit hard. Like we got some parts about the community. And we also have Anastasia joining us. Hey, Anastasia, we're doing a check-in round where you can introduce yourself and your interest to the topic. You're on mute, so feel free to unmute and speak. Anastasia, can you hear us? Maybe something with the tech setup. But yeah, I think people might, jump off, I guess. Anastasia, second try. Can you hear us? Maybe I'll text her as well. But yeah, on this note, I will maybe pass the mic to Jan to speak about his experience, and after that, we might have discussions and questions. Okay.
Great. Well, maybe the way to begin is ask a question, everyone. Of all venture-backed startups, how many do people think are acquired by M&A? What percentage? Give me some numbers, folks.
Excluding those who died, or
No, who got acquired? M&A, merger acquisition.
yeah, I mean, out of 100%, some percentage would die and some would be acquired. So, do you mean like percentage of acquired versus IPO, or the percentage of acquired over all the number? Hi, Anastasia.
Hi, Anastasia. It is a percentage of all the VC-backed companies. How many of them end up having an exit by an M&A, by a merger acquisition? How many get acquired as a percentage of all of them? Is it like 1%, 50%, 100%? What percentage of companies that get funded have an exit by acquisition?
Mm-hmm. My estimate 85%.
Okay. Anastasia? Okay, well, let's move on to you, Max, then.
We can't hear you, Anastasia. We see you, but somehow sound is not coming. I feel so sorry. This Discord setup might be a bit tricky. Somehow I have a number of like 10 to 20%, I guess.
Okay, all right. And then, Jenny and MC, what numbers do you want to propose? Percentage?
50, 60, I don't know.
Okay, 50, 60%, okay.
Yeah, 50%.
I have no idea what you said, but I'm sure it's the right number. I'm sure it's the right number. So the number is between 30 to 40%. Okay, so 30, 40% of all companies get acquired. Okay, how many now do you think go IPO?
Less than one, I guess.
And does everyone know what IPO is, by the way? IPO is mean how we go public, get listed on the stock market. How many do you think get listed? So Max thinks one, but less than 1%. Anyone else? Any numbers?
It's exchange and USDC. So,
sorry, mate, I can't hear you. So let's keep on going. Dimitro,
I
what number are you
think
going to
I
give?
also think about 1%, maybe less.
Anastasia, you can put up a number. You can do sign language. Okay, 2%. Okay, 2%. And then, Jenny, how about yourself? Jenny,
Jenny, you're on mute.
you're up. Jenny, got to give a number. Okay, the number is 0 from her. Okay, got it. Okay, so the actual number is 1%. Okay, so think about it. There you are. What a max genius at work right there. So think about this. There you are. You've been fortunate enough to have got a company, yeah, an idea. You're one of the very few people who've managed to get venture funding, yeah. Venture funding is really hard to get hold of. You've got to have a strong idea. You've got to have a good team. Timing's got to be right. Yeah, even after you've passed that, basically only 20 or 30% of you are going to go and get an M&A, and 1% are going to go and get public. So most of the other companies are not going to make it. And don't forget, in venture, they're not looking for lifestyle businesses. They're going to give you capital and going to run you into the wall, basically, to see as if you are successful or not. So it's likely that everyone else the company just dies, just falls apart. There's no lifestyle business being created of those remaining ones. So it's a difficult proposition to go down. And the other piece too, think about it from a point of view of you as an employee, is that the chances are of you getting an exit even after all of that is challenging, because if you're part of the founding team, you may be lucky to have retained equity sufficiently all the way through. But if you're an employee, you may have very small amount of equity by the end of it, and then you have a lockup period where you can't exit if it's gone IPO, if it's gone public, or the company that acquires you may not themselves be liquid. So you've got to now turn your shares into someone else's shares. So it is definitely, as I always say about startups, you're doing it for the love of the journey. You're doing it because you're really passionate about the project you're building. You're doing it because you think you could be doing anything else but that. And the idea of working for a large company seems alien to you. The idea of not being at the front top of new technology doesn't seem interesting to you. So that's the reason why you do it. The outcome is challenging. So let me just give you 2 examples of what I went through. So like I mentioned, I had 3 of my startups were acquired and 1 company I took public. Let me just briefly explain to you those two incidences, one of an M&A, one of the IPO. So the first one is called Rhythm New Media. Rhythm New Media was the first ever mobile video company. So for those people, and I'm sure you've watched, on your mobile phone, videos, and there's an ad in front of it. That's my fault. I'm sorry. I ruined your experience. It's me who put those videos there. We were the first to create kind of pre-roll and post-roll ads for mobile. And so we were initially started off working on WAP phones. I don't know if guys can remember WAP, but WAP was like pre-smartphone. That's like Stone Age to most people around here. So this is a phone that, to get our videos on the phone, we're working with carriers like mobile operators like AT&T, or I don't know what the main operators are in Ukraine, but the main mobile company was the company we worked with. And it wasn't as though that you would open up the phone and there'd be a big button saying, Netflix or Amazon Prime. No, you had to dive into multiple stages of levels to get to the video section. So you can imagine the usage was pretty bloody low. But we were the first to market to do that. And then luckily for us, along came Apple. And as a result, we were the first to deploy on Apple a video ad-free product. We worked with Discovery, we worked with all these other media companies to offer their content. And initially we were working with the mobile operators, we were working also with the content companies and the advertisers, and that's a three-way split, basically of between us, the carrier, and the content provider of the money we get from advertisers. And that was a bad business to be in, because imagine, for every dollar, the mobile operator would take 50 cents, the content provider would take 25 cents. So our gross margins are 25 percentage points on the dollar, which is like terrible margins to be at. So luckily the iPhone came along and we were able to remove the operator. So we went directly create our own apps and apps for media companies like Fox, like Disney, and all these other companies. We built their apps for them. And then we built that business up. And luckily for us, we raised capital along the way. So we were lucky we had the right timing, because if the iPhone hadn't come out, we'd have been dead, because our business would have had such small margins. But we were lucky we were there, we survived, and the App Store came out. We were first with a video app, so we're lucky with timing there. We were also lucky that we had advertisers basically work with us, so they wanted to work with us and not other people. And finally, our luck was that along comes a publicly traded company, a company listed in the UK, and they say, "We want to buy you." And so there we are. This is another question for the audience here. So we had an option. Let's say the option was to buy in equity. This is a publicly traded company, or take cash. What should we do? What should we do? Take equity or cash? Let's go around the table. Anastasia, equity or cash? C for cash, because you only can do, or if you do C for cash or E for equity, which one? That's three is equity, and E, and C is for cash. Cash. Okay. Cash. Don't take equity, take cash. Okay. Dimitro, should we take cash or equity?
Equity.
Equity, right, because it's like a publicly traded company. Why wouldn't you want to take equity? Liquidity is right there. Good idea. Next one, Max. Equity or cash?
50-50.
You can't make a decision.
Oh, it's so tricky, but like maybe equity then.
Equity, okay. Gianni, equity or cash?
Equity.
Equity. MC, equity or cash?
Equity.
Okay, all right. So for those who said equity, I'm sorry, that wasn't the right choice, because I would 100% agree with you. 100% agree with you. Because why would you want to take equity? Because you're now exiting into a publicly traded company. You're going to have equity through them. Cash is often lower. The sales price we got was like, if you imagine, 2 is the equity price we got for our business. Cash was 1.5, so a discount to take cash. But it wasn't me who made the decision. I was my CEO. He was a far smarter guy than I was, because what happened is that we took cash, and literally within 2 weeks, a report came out which suggests the company that acquired us was a completely fictitious marketing company, and their equity, which was the London stock market, dropped like a stone. So imagine there we'd built a company, we had got product market fit, we got investors, right timing, this, that, and the other, and finally, even though we'd sold ourselves, still everything could have gone to nothing. But we were lucky. It wasn't my decision. I got full credit to my CEO, who's a very smart guy. So he decided to take basically cash, and so that was example of an exit that was positive, but by luck and good decision making. The next opportunity is a company called Yumi. Yumi was the first company to bring advertising, video advertising yet again, now not just a mobile phone, but across mobile, TV, and online. So nowadays you watch Netflix and you see the same TV show on your mobile phone, on your if you watch it on your PC, or on TV. It's all the same. Yep. and you sometimes see the same ad. That's us. We were responsible for bringing that kind of concept, and we were unique because we proved through research that if you see the same ad in different channels, you have higher retention rates than seeing the same ad repeatedly. So if you see the same, Jeep Cherokee ad on your mobile phone, you ignore it. It's yet another Cherokee ad. But if you see the same ad, video ad on your mobile phone, on your PC, and on your TV, you think, oh, that's interesting. Subconsciously, you better recall. Anyway, that was our unique approach. And we got big advertisers. We were lucky. We also got into the business of working with some of the larger companies, like the music companies. There's a company in America called Pandora, like Spotify, but we did a deal to be the exclusive provider for all their advertising. So there's we built up a big business, and then we were lucky enough, timing was right, the market was right, we went public. And going public is a long journey of like getting the right, the business has to change from being, I suppose, think like a startup company is more like a sprinter. You're like, hurry to go and get to the end. As soon as you go public, you're much more like a marathon runner. You're like, you need to consistently deliver performance. And it's different type of people. You need to change out your talent. So someone who's a good BD person, for small startups, is not the right person to be building a consistent pipeline of opportunities. Likewise, for someone who's great at marketing, maybe good at like guerrilla marketing, but how the hell are you going to be able good at knowing how to market to like, once you're like a publicly company, you need to market to the street as well as to your customers, as well as many different stakeholders than just customers. So we went through this process. We end up going public, and we raised, I think, 150 million in that going public moment. And there's a lockup period for the first 6 months. If you are an investor and an employee, there's a lockup. And so what happened in those 6 months, though, is that although we went out well, the market turned, and it became apparent that we were well placed in video advertising, but not against when Facebook and Google started coming into our market. So their pricing pressure pushed our margins down and caused our business to actually, the price point in the market as the business go down. So although we went out at a price point, over time it just flatlined. It didn't go up tremendously, it didn't go down tremendously, it flatlined. And so therefore, although we again had been fortunate enough to have been one of 1% of companies that get public, we ended up not seeing the gravitational defying opportunities you often read about in Business Wire or Business Week or whatever else like that. That not every opportunity that goes public necessarily has a breakout success. And even more so in the markets right now, there's so much turbulence. Some companies pull their decision to go public because they don't know how the market's gonna impact them. So I've done enough talking. I'm going to hand over to ask questions now as I walk through 2 examples. And I think the one piece to take away is, again, as I said at the top of our conversation here, make sure you do your startup because you like the journey. Because I just illustrated there are many, even at success points, there are many opportunities for things not to work out quite as you'd hoped.
So we can ask questions now, yes?
Please, yeah.
I have a question. How important is for startup to make IPO as its main goal? Should all the startup do that, in your opinion?
My view is that every company should go and basically build amazing products that delight customers. That's it. And if opportunities come along, which are acquisitions or potential to go public, you look at them and in that particular moment, based upon where you see the customer need, where you see the long-term potential, and what do you need? If you feel that I'm reaching the end of my potential as like a feature, and someone comes along and buy me my feature, but if my feature could be added to a bigger opportunity, like a larger company, then that's the time to do it. I don't think that the goal should be very much customer centric, and giving an amazing product that delights customers rather than a goal of an exit as in itself an objective.
Thank you. I also have, if no one wants to ask, I try my second question. I have, because I have an academic background, I have some academic interest in Web3, in ICO. There was several years where ICO, initial coin offering, it's like IPO in crypto. They were very popular, and in my opinion, it was from the perspective of economic theory, it was not very different, ICO and IPO. Yes, because you can consider some tokens as shares, as equity. But what in the more practical way? What a difference? Can you say what a difference between initial coin offering and public offering?
Yeah, I'd say that the amount of due diligence and research was a night and day difference. And institutional support, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. ICOs were flash in the pan, pump and dump. And some were successful, but a lot of it was like not long-term thinking. When you go IPO, there's a very long process of your basically you're putting the company on a completely different footing. It's like now the company has enough traction, and I now need to tap into a new source of capital, institutional capital, because I want to grow and become the dominant player in this market, and I need institutional capital to take me there. So it's much more a whole different ball game than. I see an opportunity to go and literally shrill my token and get people to buy it. Now not every project was like that. I mean, but enough of them were to demonstrate there is a 19-day difference between the IPO process and the ICO process.
Yeah, but now also regulation in Web3 is more and more on the way. Maybe it will come closer.
Yeah, and also the ICO concept has changed too. It's a token offering. It's not a coin offering. It's not the original ICO back in 2018 or something like that. That's a different environment than we're talking about today.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'm curious, as your main point, I guess, was to love the journey and follow it. And we see, we'll usually see like people who are successful, and they come through. But from your experience, what happens to people who don't succeed? Like, how much do you need to try, or what would be your perspective towards failure?
Well, I think that there's many different angles there. So I'd say that I think that one of the most important things is often misunderstood in startup life, particularly the CEO level, is to have a supportive partner. It's often forgotten how absolutely important that is. And one of the things we would always like to do an analysis of, maybe Dimitri, since you're an academic, it's an interesting analysis for you, is that the number of successful startups that became large companies whose spouse had a full-time job at a company which would provide benefits and salary support. Because so much of basically being in a startup is how long you can sustain it. How long can you sustain no salary? How long can you sustain low salary? How long can the business support paying people peanuts? How long can you do that? I mean, that really is a lot of it is obviously getting the right timing. Right, and timing is often overlooked as a very important thing. So how can you survive until you get to the right timing? That's one piece, I think, in terms of failure. So the failure is how long can you survive before you have to call it quits. So then if it is failure, you have to close the business down. People talk in Silicon Valley terms like, a failure or two is important. I think that's only important if the company failed not because of some egregious mistake of you. If it was in a great industry, but it just was maybe the timing wasn't right, etc., that's untenable. But I don't think there's a free pass for like multiple failures. Unfortunately, you've got to ideally get it right or have a very good reason why it didn't. And then, but some people get the startup bug and want to go back at it again, which is great, But you learn a lot having gone through one startup to another one, and whether it's successful or not, it's the learning process which is maybe positions you very well for the next time round. I need to go and plug my phone in. It's about to die. So I'm going to put my camera off for a sec. But fire me another question. I'm here for questions.
And now you can hear me or not?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, okay, so great. So sorry, I had problem with my microphone. So, what is the most successful startup that you have ever known, and what are the main case of its success?
Okay, so I'd say the most successful one was one which I then bootstrapped myself. So you had more equity in it. So I suppose the question is it more successful for yourself, as in the founder, or is it more successful in terms of the impact it made more broadly? So I'd say Yumi was the one that went public that had more of a success in terms of impact on both customers, on employees, on investors. That had more of an impact. But as one of the employees, it wasn't as significant as being in a company where you retain more equity because you're not taking on venture capital, and therefore as a result you can you have it may not exit for the same size, but your percentage is a lot larger. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah.
So we had Maria and Vakhtang joining. Welcome, guys. Feel free to ask questions via voice or in the chat.
Maybe we can ask them to say a couple of words about themselves.
Also, I know Vakhtang is building some kind of startup. Vakhtang, are you open to share about yourself?
Yes, hello everybody. A little bit tired. I had a workshop about my product I'm building, and I can share it. Why not? But Ian, will you able to look on your phone my desktop front end part, the crypto project?
Are you asking me to review your project now live? Probably not a good idea because other people may not be so interested in it. But if you want, ask me a general question about a concept. I'm here to help.
I saw that you the theme of this voice is position startup for IPO, but I have crypto project and I will not have IPO. Maximum will be initial DEX offering, selling coins, not equities.
Yeah,
But,
of course. That is definitely another option. In fact, Dimitri was talking about that earlier on in conversation. Yeah.
oh yeah.
Yeah, so I think that in some ways still there could be similarities between these processes, and the question if general enough could be in place.
Well, I'm going to take a point. I think there's there's a number of projects have gone down the token route because it appears to be an option for liquidity, and for some it is, and they may raise, I know, $500,000, $1 million, maybe $1.5 million, and something like that. But the problem is that once you've gone down the token route, you're kind of shot your bolt, okay? Because there's no way in the crypto market you're going to get research to cover you and then provide you with ongoing market making support to drive your tokens. So I think that there are obviously a lot of projects that are successful. A lot of projects are successful because they get the market right, and you see a lot of upside from them as a token. But there's a lot of companies too who misunderstood or don't understand what it means to go through that token experience, because there's no further acquisition going to happen once you've gone to your token, because no one can acquire you. It's much harder to acquire a company with a token if it's got a distributed treasury and all. I mean, it's much more complicated. So I think you have to be very thoughtful about going down that token path to make sure that you have the usage, you have the traction, that market makers will say that this is a great company. I see the long-term value of the token. I see how it's been used. That has to be a consideration. It can't be just a quick way to make an exit.
Yeah, exit is always good.
Well, it's only good if it provides you with value and the company with long-term value. Its exit in of itself is not a strategy.
Okay. Thank you.
And, what do you think would be the development? Like, as we mostly are thinking about Web3 space, and you articulated a bit these differences in approaches. But what do you think where these approaches will develop? Would there be still many IPOs, or would there be maybe maybe traditional projects looking into alternative models? What can you say about the future?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot more acquisition in the space. I think there's consolidation is going to have to happen. And you look at the amount of capital that is actually deployed and the source of capital in crypto project, it hasn't really moved. I mean, the amount of capital hasn't significantly increased. It's the same amount of capital moving around and around circles. I mean, there's some new capital come in into the crypto token side. For example, Bitcoin's got obviously a lot more capital in from start ETFs, etc. But there isn't a tremendous amount of new capital coming in as much we had hoped. We really hoped that this cycle would be another source of inbound capital, but instead it's just moving the decks of the Titanic chair, moving the Titanic chair decks around. And so the question is that how do those projects who maybe raised them capital in 23, maybe got the DeFi summer, maybe, how do those projects sustain themselves? And probably some of them won't. So they end up merging. They'll end up, if they haven't gone through a token launch, it's much easier to do so. So I think there will be an increase in M&A activity. In fact, you're beginning to see it already. You've seen companies be acquired as stable coins. You may have seen that recently, the announcement where there's been acquisitions in the space. So I think there's opportunity. I think that the token opportunity, which is, I suppose, the equivalent of an IPO, will still it will be still the same level, like 1%, or like maybe slightly higher, but it's not going to be like 30-40% of projects go get their tokens and be successful. It's still going to be the same distribution. I don't see the distribution changing. I just see it's like maybe tokens become an easier way for companies to get some degree of liquidity. But I don't think the fundamental breakout between failing companies get acquired and those who go through ICO or IPO is going to radically change.
Thank you. Anybody else have a question?
Yes, I have one more.
Go ahead.
What do you think is happening faster, acquisitions or new startup rise? How far we are from the cyberpunk situation where 2 or 3 big companies controlling everything?
Well, startups is one thing. Venture-backed startups is a completely different thing. So the number of venture-backed startups has increased as the number of new funds in the market has increased. The number of venture funds have increased. But there is a huge issue right now, an overhang of the whole industry, which is returns. So if you're a venture fund or even private equity more generally, it's been not a good time to be in the industry because the returns you'll be able to give back to your limited partners, pension funds, has been rather poor. You may have seen today, I saw a news announcement that Yale, which is an American institution, has a very large endowment. And Yale has been a backer of many VC firms and private equity firms. So they provide the backing. And Yale has just gone into the market to announce they're going to be selling in the secondaries all their private equity positions. That means they're going to take maybe cents on the dollar, maybe 80 cents, maybe 90 cents, whatever it is. They're not holding on to it. They're not saying, gosh, we are willing to hold on for another 2 or 3 years, hoping the IPO market will change and hoping there'll be more exits. They're saying, actually, we think today we need to be more, need to get out of it, out of the private equity space. So that does not bode well for the venture capital industry. If LPs are thinking of going to the secondaries, it makes it questionable, like, where is the capital coming from? If the distributions aren't coming from the startups, because the IPO market is tight and the M&A market is tight too because there's so much uncertainty, then it means that VCs can't get the returns, and then the VCs won't be able to raise more money from their limited partners for the next round of their fund. I haven't confused everyone, but there's 3 parties at work here. There's the LPs, the endowments, the pension funds, there's the VCs, and there's the startups. And there's an interplay between those 3 what I've been talking about.
Maybe you have more questions, but as we, I think, approaching the end of the session, feel free to voice them. But one of the events that led to Jan speaking to us today is that Infrastructure Ventures, his company, has a course called Customer Centricity, and I'll post the link now in the chat. So we partner on that, like to have a cohort of Ukrainian students, startups, projects, ideas, to go through this course, which is pretty straightforward, a few weeks course that help you to prepare your idea that would be then reviewed by the Infrastructure Ventures team for investment. I don't know, Jan, if you want to speak a bit more about that as well.
Sure. So there's 2 things. I'll explain the origin of this course and then where else we work, who else we work with. So the origin is I started out my career at one of the areas was called Stanford Research Institute, SRI, which is the blue sky lab of Stanford University. So it was one of the original nodes of the internet, kind of a long history, long pedigree of building great technology. And I was fortunate enough to be in the venture team, which was responsible for spinning out technology from the lab. So very, very, very early stage technology. And so we developed an interesting methodology, which was called NABC, or Need, Approach, Benefit, Competition. NABC was just a simple 4-word way to build a plan to help a technical founder think about how they create what we call customer-centric company building, which is, what does the customer want? You've got a great idea, fantastic, but let's ground it in a customer need as a starting point. So N for NABC is need, and then A is the approach, B the benefits, and C competition. So this kind of a very simple structure, and this methodology has worked very well. So one example is one of the companies we spun out from SRI was Siri, which maybe you may know is the AI technology company. So that was one, and we had Intuitive Surgical, a whole bunch of companies that adopted this methodology and had successful outcomes. So what I've done is I've taken this kind of approach and layered on my own experience as a serial founder, layered on my own experience in being in private equity too, and helping companies basically build out their projects, and created this 4-week program, which is designed to help technical founders, or even just people who may not be technical but just want to have an idea. They want to like test it out. And so what we do is we provide this at no cost, basically, to folks we work with. And so this program has now been adopted by Cambridge University. Their alumni use it. People who leave the university, they're also, for example, at University of Sao Paulo, it's been used. Koç University in Turkey, I can go on. But it's basically, this program has been very successful to helping people think through ideas. And not everyone who completes the program is going to be an entrepreneur. But the idea that teaches you around customer-centric company building is great for whether you're going to be an entrepreneur or be in business of any form, to understand a methodology of how customers, how their needs can drive your product, drive you to deliver a better product towards ultimately customer needs. So, and that's, as I said, going back to the top of our conversation here, was asking about like, is exit the objective? No, the objective is to find a product that meets a customer need and basically delight in giving value to customers. And that's what this project does. It kind of helps you center your product, because once you have a customer need, it becomes so much easier then to decide what your strategy should be. What is your product strategy? What is your marketing strategy? What is your business strategy? Because you don't need to invent stuff. Just listen to what the customer wants. So it kind of is a helpful way to frame you building your company, or you building your methodology, how you think about business for the rest of your career.
Beautiful. So if you follow the link, you'll find a quick form. You could also reach to me or to Dmitro if you would have any questions about it. For like a final chance to ask any questions.
I have questions about this. About this, I need to add in what university I'm studying now. Yeah, but I'm studying at school. Can I join for this? Or no?
Matt, is that a question for you?
Yeah, I think you can. It's okay. Just put your educational organization name. It's okay. Anything else?
Well, great. I'm really glad that the chance to talk to you and pick up on some of your interesting projects. Whether I've heard people talk about like token projects, heard people talk about ideas around exits, etc. It's all exciting, and I'm just I get my own personal thrill is helping people be successful. If I can apply any of my experiences to make you successful, that's fabulous. So thank you for your time, and hopefully we'll have a chance to work together.
Amazing.
Thank
you so much, Jan.
Right. See you guys. Bye-bye.
See you.
Всім пока.
Дякую за зустріч. Вибачте, що запізнився.
Дякую. До побачення.
До побачення.
Молодець.